Special Operations Forces took out 3 drilling rigs in the Caspian Sea, and Magyar caused a blackout for more than 500,000 Russians. Today, friends, we'll break down 2 high-profile, strategically important strikes that happened almost simultaneously. The first strike was over 1,000 kilometers from Ukraine, the second deep inside Russian territory in Belgorod and Oryol, which are now plunged into total darkness without heat at minus 18 degrees. But, well, that's what they wanted themselves. Let's get started, friends. But first, subscribe to this YouTube channel and don't forget to like and leave your comments. All of this is super important for the growth of our community. And so, as not to waste time, let's start with these amazing, incredible shots from the Special Operations Forces. The Caspian. On the night of January 11th, deep strike units of the Special Operations Forces carried out strikes on 3 strategic targets. These are not airfields or warehouses near the front line. These are ice-resistant stationary platforms of the Naftogaz Corporation, Lukoil, named after Filanovsky, Korchagin, and Greifer. Please take a look at these shots and the moment of impact. Why is this important? Well, first of all, it's an economic blow. As you know, these platforms are sources of oil and gas extraction and transportation. And Lukoil, by the way, just for a moment, this is one of the pillars of the Russian economy and budget, which, as everyone knows, directly serves the needs of the occupier's army. That's why, friends, every damaged platform like this means millions of dollars in losses, not only from repairs, but also from downtime. Secondly, it's a strategic blow. Few people pay attention to this, but the Russians have always considered the Caspian Sea a closed, safe, internal body of water. Ukraine has shown both on the night of the 11th and before that for our Special Operations Forces, for the SBU officers, when Malyuk was in charge, and for modern means of attack, there is simply nothing unreachable intact. This demoralizes the elites, demoralizes the businesses connected to the Kremlin, and this is not the first such strike, as I mentioned. These platforms have already suffered from our naval drones. Third, friends, this is a symmetrical response. This is not a random choice. This is actually a clear response to Russian strikes on our energy sector. We are striking not at civilian infrastructure, as the Russians do, but at those industrial and energy facilities that power the enemy's war machine. As stated by the Special Operations Forces, the goal is the strategic exhaustion of the enemy's ability to wage war. That's exactly what it is. At the same time, our Ukrainian Defense Forces friends were also active on the front lines. A Bukem 3 SAM launcher was destroyed in the Luhansk region, and by the way, this removes an aerial threat to our aircraft and drones, as well as a logistics supply depot of the occupier's 49th Army in the Kherson region. This is systematic work. We strike both deep behind enemy lines and at logistics near the front line. Such a combination, as you understand, shakes the entire system. And by the way, this is archival footage. We're still waiting for our own shot, and very soon, as I understand it, will be provided with them, and then we can comment on them live with you. Now, friends, let's move on to Oryol as well as to Belgorod. Why? Because it's freezing, because it's dark, because the heating and water supply are gone. Local public pages are in tears, in a panic, writing about a critically difficult situation, about 600,000 people without electricity, without heat, and without water. So what happened? It's all very simple. Our drones and missiles reached the substations and thermal power plants. In Belgorod, according to open sources, they hit the Storozhova substation and the Luch thermal power plant. In Oryol, after the strike on the thermal power plant, the result was a total large-scale blackout. Even their governor, Gladkov, confirmed it. Look, all they can do now is just collect snow because there's no water. So what? And wash their asses with that snow. That's all they want and are able to do right now. They did this to us and thought they'd just get away with it. Yeah, nothing at all, excuse my language. But look, they're standing in line for water. Just look at this footage. What happened, I asked? So now they're pulling up to gas stations here. Some problems have started. What's going on? But now, friends, I have a question. Was this a surprise? Absolutely not. And why? Because the commander of Ukraine's unmanned systems forces, Robert Magyar Brody, about a month ago, warned us, and he warned us directly. I'm quoting his words. Russians, blackout is not scary. It's just a bit of inconvenience. Well, a bit of inconvenience like that, please. Now you get to live with it. So here you go. This is our response to how Russia caused blackouts in Ukrainian regions with their shelling during severe frosts. Do you know what our current situation is with the power system? It's very, very bad. The most difficult it's been in all the years of the war, and this is the principle of symmetry which they themselves introduced. Russian degenerates. We're simply returning their own methods back to them. Madhyar, in fact, he wasn't shocked. He announced it. He kept his promise. Good evening, we are from Ukraine. And this strike, in fact, shows several things, friends. Precision and intelligence, because hitting the key nodes of the power grid is the result of high-quality intelligence work. Second, it's the psychological effect when darkness falls not somewhere on the front line, but in the rear areas, which they considered relatively safe. In key places in cities, regions, and this destroys the myth of stability and of normal life in the heartland of the Russian Federation. Isn't that right? And third, it's about controlling escalation. We are not striking residential neighborhoods. We are targeting infrastructure that, on one hand, sustains the military industry, and on the other, makes the lives of ordinary Russians uncomfortable, at the very least, so that they ask their damn terrorist government, why do we need this war? What did you start there? Because it's easy to sit on the couch and talk about our boys, about taking Kiev in 3 days and so on. They're all good at that. We know this sick, chauvinistic nation virus or virus nation all too well. We know them very well. But when it comes to gathering snow to wash their asses, fetching water, standing in line, being without electricity, living through a blackout, or freezing at minus 18 degrees, that's a different story. There are no brave ones then. And then they'll remember our boys in a very different context. That's all there is to it. And about Putin, by the way, as well. Their leader, their emperor, or whatever he is to them. You know what's interesting, friends? In the context of all these events, Madhyar recently explained what it actually is, the forces of unmanned systems. And I have some specific numbers for you. As of January 1st, 2026, this is fresh information, only 8% of all drone pilots in Ukraine serve specifically in the unmanned systems forces. This means that out of every 100 UAV crews in the armed forces of Ukraine, only 8 belong to the unmanned systems forces. 92% are crews who serve as part of their own brigades, corps, special services. These are the air assault forces, territorial defense, defense intelligence, security service of Ukraine, and so on. The unmanned systems forces are a separate branch of the military that handles strategic planning, coordination, supply, standardization, and training in the field of drones. Simply put, friends, the unmanned systems forces are not everyone who flies drones in Ukraine. They are a separate, elite, systematic force that carries out the most complex missions at depths of up to 1,500 kilometers. Well, for example, good evening, Caspian. They operate in the hottest sectors of the front, covering the infantry. Madhyar says, honestly, look, for the unmanned systems forces to meet all the needs of the front, they need to be tripled in size. But this isn't a matter of quickly transferring people. It's about systematic development, funding, and recruitment. They don't take pilots from other units. They have a clear plan for this 26th year, which we hope we'll hear more about. Or better yet, we'll see it in the form of explosions and fireworks. So, strikes on the Caspian on power grids. This is, among other things, the result of the work of this new technological branch of our armed forces. And that's super cool. So, what do we have as a result of all these strikes? First, Ukraine is demonstrating the strategic depth of its capabilities. We can reach targets thousands of kilometers from our borders, striking where the enemy simply does not expect it. Second, this is a symmetrical and measured response. We are not hitting civilians, but rather the military economic potential, the infrastructure that supports aggression. Third, we are seeing synergy between different forces. Special Operations Forces, Unmanned Systems Forces, Intelligence, Artillery. This is a sign of the maturity and coordination of the Ukrainian army, and that's really cool. These events, friends, are a clear signal. The war is returning to those who started it. Ukraine is not only holding the defense, but also developing powerful means to influence the aggressor at absolutely every level, from the tactical battlefield to strategic types. And as our combat commanders like to say, there is more to come. Thank you, friends. Stay on this channel, subscribe to it, and please be more active in subscribing. Let's give a bunch of likes and thank the guys. Show our respect to the guys from different units, the Special Operations Forces, SBS, Madhyar, and personally to the leaders and commanders for such an excellent job done, and of course, for their service and protection of Ukrainians. Take care of yourselves and see you next time.